So yeah, we have an old company. It's been around a long time, but I tell you, each year is a challenge, and this doesn't that matches up. So. So how is the Go Group adjusting to the change? Well, one of the things, there's certainly been a huge disruption in the industry, and that regulations that have stood in place for decades have just been blown away. And that when you look at, initially it was like, well, what can we do? Well, let's shore up the defenses, let's try to keep the status quo, but that was quickly, you could see that throughout the country, the political environment had changed, and regulations were being lessened, barriers to entry were being reduced or removed, and it was just the walls of defense were crumbling, and it was sort of like when castles met cannons. I mean, it was just the thing was blown away, and you couldn't stop the hordes, and we were pretty much, in some markets, just overrun by deregulated competitors. So like in Chicago, we had before 7,000 cabs. And when I was doing this, I thought, well, I think it's 20,000 approved cars for rideshare. But I wanted to make sure that number was right after I sent this to Ray. And I further investigation, I feel so stupid, but it's not 20,000, it's 150,000. I can't believe it. But 150,000 cars in Chicago have been approved for commercial use on rideshare. And 4 years ago, I was complaining about 7,000 cabs. My God. So with that, with the increase in drivers and vehicles, there was certainly a huge reduction in the price of services. I mean, the competing forces came into play. And for some of our operators, their medallion values and licenses really dropped in value. In some places, were completely wiped out. And what happens then to the operator? Their balance sheet, their debt to equity ratios are turned upside down. It was like in the days when the real estate market collapsed and you have mortgages, and a lot of people found themselves underwater. So that's been a major impact on some of the operators. And so you have owners of vehicles to owners of companies that find that their net worth has substantially been reduced. So when we look at the GO system, different markets have been impacted at different levels. And when you look at locations far distant from the airport, like here in Colorado, CMA serving the Vail and Aspen, all the resorts, and Go Alpine and Steamboat, they really have not been impacted by the rideshare business to any great degree. And we see that too in our route operators in Indiana and Wisconsin and Minnesota. And if the long distance suburban communities in Connecticut and in Long Island, for instance, have not really had the impact that you've seen in some of the more urban centers. And those urban centers that have a high amount of international travel, like New York or San Francisco or Orlando, they have some protection due to the great amount of wholesale travel, European and foreign wholesalers who sell their product, and everybody arrives here prepaid. And so they have some defenses. I would say that the heart of the battle has been in more urban centers like Chicago and Dallas. So let's see. So what are we doing to fight the fight? So we've been working on enhancing our product, similar to what Dave was talking about. We see the need to have same-day service. People are looking to book their transportation the same day of travel. In markets where we have a strong fleet capacity, we're offering on-demand service. We're also expanding to point-to-point service, a lot more sedan service being offered. And the use of exclusive vans and nonstop or direct, some premium pricing for these different types of service. One of the things in many markets we've introduced is shared ride SUVs. This has been very well received. The people like it. It also helps reduce the number of stops, loading time at the airport, and gives us an opportunity to up the average fare a bit. So that has been very well received. But when we look at what are the customers looking for, everything has to be very immediate. So let's see. The other thing that we feel is very important is having a very strong quality control system. And every passenger receives a Rate Your Ride survey as their trip begins. So they're able to measure every aspect of the service, and it gives us real-time feedback from the customer as to how we can improve, what did they like, and this helps us solve problems, improve service, and it's really a great improvement in the communication with the customers. Let's see. So we also have developed an app, and it's easy to use. I'll say I used Super Shuttle's app coming in the airport and appreciated the free ride. It was very nice, but the app was easy to use. We feel the Go app is also very easy to use, and it helps build customer loyalty, and we're expanding and promoting it with all our customers, and it shows where people are, where you are and what the trip is, and all the I think that's one thing the rideshare companies and their technology have really set a pace that we all have to match, and that's been good. The other thing we're doing is really selling our strengths, and we talk about the professional drivers and the fact that, as they talk about, we have a known price. There's no surge pricing. You know in advance what it is, and it is the same today as it will be tomorrow. We also talk about the high insurance limits, the DOT-inspected vehicles, and the fact that you can talk to a real person, that we have the call center you can reach out to, and we have ticket counters, and so it's a much more personal touch with the customer. We find this particularly something that the conventions and such like, and conventions tend to create a surge pricing demand. The rideshare companies use that at conventions and centers and such, so it is a strong marketing tool. The other thing we talk about is reducing costs. What are the things that we can do to make our operations more efficient in this time where there is such pressure on pricing and bottom line with the competition really not caring about the bottom line? So, as Dave talked about, we need to renegotiate a number of markets the minimum annual guarantee. There has to be a really clear balance between value given and value paid. And I think that everyone is open to that discussion. We also are using technology to try to reduce staffing. How can we automate dispatching, automate routing, driver check-ins? We'd like to eliminate the staffing necessary, but certainly we're in the process of reducing that staffing, going towards the road of eliminating. We also are looking at reducing costs through outsourcing. One of our operators has outsourced their call center to the Philippines. It seems to be working very well. Good customer service, lower price. So we're looking to follow that and other ways to outsource some accounting and dispatching and such. We also, through consolidation efforts, are looking at how can we get more power from our pricing, and what are some, looking at vehicles and insurance. We've had success with lowering credit card costs. We certainly have maximized our marketing dollars, but through a more consolidated effort, how can we drive down everyone's overhead expense? In a competitive market, it's important to understand your competition. What are their goals? What's their strategy? Is it the same as yours? We find that the rideshare companies, as competitors, their strategy is we want growth and we want to have a public offering. For the Go Group, it's really talking about profit and return on investment. We really are not on the same strategy line as our competition. Certainly you have to respect the great, unbelievable, unprecedented success Uber has had in raising billions of dollars. And that certainly has funded an unprecedented growth, both Uber and Lyft. They've had tremendous growth, and they've done that through low prices, and a low-cost structure, very low prices, and but to do that, they have no profit. And so they subsidize the drivers and subsidize the operation. So, I mean, I said, how many presentations have we had this material? Thanks to Bloomberg for coming out with the article last month about the losses. So, obviously, these companies are losing substantial amount of money. And can that succeed? How long can that go on? I know that years ago, we bought the Dollar Rent-A-Car franchise for Chicago. So we had both O'Hare and Midway airports. And we're working on this, and we just can't seem to make this sucker make any money. And so we hire a consultant, and he comes in, analyzes it, and says, well, your competition, Hertz, Avis, National, they're all owned by large national companies who are using Chicago as a loss leader, and they're looking for market share when they're making money in California and Florida. And there's no way you're going to make money on this, and you should sell the business. Good advice. His other advice was, you should have hired me as a consultant before you bought it, not afterwards. He was right. Expensive lesson. But it's hard to compete when you're competing about somebody losing money. Now, how long will Lyft and Uber continue to burn through? Will the investors sometimes say, do you have a business model that actually makes money? I think the time will come. And when that does, then it creates a much more of a level playing field. So what we're looking at is waiting for that time when their business model will change, and that we'll have a more level playing field because we all have this. The players are all having the same goal of making a profit. But in the meantime, what Go is doing is we're looking to enhance our services, sell our strengths, reduce our costs, expand our network, and pray that the investors of Uber and Lyft get smart really quick. So that's what we're doing. Thank you.